Hi, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to share in this next series of videos all about the infertility story in a whole. So I'm going to be releasing several videos, hopefully back to back. I want to get them all out in the same week just to get it all done. People have been waiting so long for us to share this part of our story and just to kind of like wrap things up. And so I'm gonna finally do that. So the first thing I want to do for anyone who's new to my channel is to reintroduce our full story. I'm not going to go in like the deepest detail because those who have followed the story have heard me say this story a million times. So I'm going to give it vaguely, but do that in the cleanest nutshell if I can. But we will see. I'm getting ready. Well, after I film this video, I'm going to take the baby to the splash pad. So in this first video, I'm going to share the full story. In the second video that I hope to release this week, I'm going to be sharing all of the episodes that were released with the 9 months with Courtney Cox TV show on Facebook Watch. I'm going to release every episode that we were in the description box so that anyone who didn't have a Facebook or who was having a hard time trying to follow the format that they were released, I'm going to put those all in the description box. So all you have to do is just click the link and it'll take you to the episode that you want to see. Then the next video, I'm going to tell you all about Henry's birth story. That'll be in full detail. And I've got Stuart with me in that video, and we do our best to recall all the events. I was able to bring one extra person into the hospital with me, and so I had my friend who's a videographer come in, and she filmed the most beautiful birth story. I cry every time I see it, and so that's going to be my fourth video I release. So anyway, let me break down our full infertility story. If I have to sit and hold this phone the whole time, my arm's gonna fall right off, but it's a good workout. Stuart and I were married in 2006. In 2008, we decided to go off of birth control and to do the like casually get pregnant thing, where it's like, we're not stopping, but we're not trying. I really thought I'd get pregnant really quickly. It didn't seem like there was any reason why it shouldn't work. So about a year into trying, I was like, this is weird. So I think I brought it up to an OB, and they all said, you're young. Let's see, how old was I then? 2008, 24? Yeah, they did basic hormonal blood work on me, and they said everything's fine. But like another year passed, and still nothing. So I started buying books about like how to time ovulation and to start taking like your temperature and things like that. We were like full blown trying at that point. So we're 2 years in, really trying. And I remember that was a time in my life where every month was heartbreaking. I was doing everything I was supposed to do. I was timing everything so perfectly. I was paying like super duper close attention to my body. Nothing was working, obviously. And so every month was really crushing. It was really maddening, really frustrating. That was a time in my life where we'd been off of birth control for 2 years. So it was probably one of the most, well, it was just the beginning of like a sensitive journey for us, where that was when like seeing birth announcements, pregnancy announcements, going to baby showers was feeling a little tender, because it was something that like I was trying to do. Everyone was saying there's no reason I shouldn't get pregnant, so what is the problem? So by 2011, that was when I started Clomid, and I had seen so many forums about women who were able to get pregnant on just Clomid, and since everything it sounded normal, I thought, this is the thing. I just need Clomid. I just need Clomid. And so I took Clomid, and we tried, and I didn't get pregnant. So we tried another month of Clomid, and I didn't get pregnant. And I think I did 3 months of Clomid not getting pregnant, and I was very crushed, very frustrated, very mad. And the doctor said we can begin IUIs. We attempted our first IUI. At this point, it's 2012. We did 2 IUIs with not even a like whisper of a positive even coming close. And so, do you want to play with this, honey? I decided it was time to try to find an actual doctor who specialized in reproductive care, not just an OB. So then I found another infertility clinic. I don't usually use their name when I talk about them because I don't want to be slanderous, but I'm going to use their name, and because I'm using their name, I'll try not to be slanderous. I went to East Bay Fertility. In a nutshell, I don't like this clinic. Do your research. That's what I'll say about this. Research the doctor, but it worked really badly for me. I have friends who have used them and they had success. I think likely in those situations it's because they didn't have extreme infertility like I did. But at the time I didn't know I had an extreme infertility. So for me it was a waste of money, and I just didn't feel like the care I needed I got from them. So I'll say that. You can find more about this clinic, again, if you research the doctor. Anyway, so now we go see that clinic, East Bay Fertility, and the doctor in one appointment is like, oh, you've got this problem, you've got that problem. I can totally see every issue that's going on with you. And it felt like the heavens opened, and I'm like, finally, someone who's got answers for us. I'm so relieved. And it almost felt like, in a way, hindsight now, that I was being preyed upon because I was vulnerable, you know, which just stinks. But anyway, because he had answers for us and it felt like what we'd been hoping and waiting for, of course we did an IVF with them. They called it a min-stim IVF, which means it's minimal stimulation, less drugs than a standard IVF. Yeah, I didn't get pregnant, obviously. I didn't feel like my hormones were monitored very well. I only got, I think it was 3 or 5 eggs. 3 fertilized, and they all looked really crappy. I will say this. I remember he said, if all of these eggs look bad, and then he pointed to my abdomen and like circled his hand, he said, then all of these eggs are bad. And at the time I was like, who do you think you are? Screw you, you don't know. And unfortunately he was right. So I'll give him that. He was right. Anyway, again, for more details on that story, I'll put it in the description box. So then I was like, I need to do more research on doctors. I'm, you know, partial to UFC, Utah Fertility Center, because that's who we ended up going with. So we met with that doctor. We talked about our cycle with East Bay Fertility. He said more things about the clinic, and he said, just because he said what he said about my eggs doesn't mean it's necessarily true. 2014, we did a full-blown IVF. I retrieved like 36 eggs or something crazy. They fertilized really well. By day 5, I only had a couple poor quality embryos. They put them in. We didn't think they would take, but they did, and I did get pregnant. But it was short-lived. By week 6 of pregnancy, I miscarried, and that was a total bummer. Okay, sorry, I had to change someone's bum. In 2015, I decided, well, I was talking to the doctor. I was like, there's got to be answers. And he kept telling me, okay, we've done an IVF and you got great results. As in, you had so many eggs, and it is abnormal that so many would not grow well. So I think there is a problem with the eggs. And so I wanted to do the laparoscopy to see if I did have endometriosis, and we found out that I did, and it was stage 4. So that gave us some answers finally, and he said that we can, that he tried to clean it up as best as he could with the surgery. And then he also put me on a like 3-month supply of Depo-Lupron, which is like menopause, and putting your body through menopause is supposed to suppress any endometriosis that might be in your body. So I did all of that, and now we're in 2016, and I did another IVF. And I, again, responded really well to the stimulation meds, and I retrieved a ton of eggs, and I only had three that made it. Their quality was improved from the time prior. The thing is, they had a lot of fragmentation. I could go into like a whole thing on fragmentation, but I don't want to like waste any more of your time. In a nutshell, it can cause an embryo to die, but sometimes it doesn't. So they put 2 in, and I miscarried even faster than the time I had before. So a few months later, we transferred the remainder embryo, that 3rd embryo, and I didn't even get pregnant. So we started noticing a trend of like my body responding less to the embryo faster and faster. And so then it was like, okay, we've got a recurring miscarriage problem. So then we had to do research on that to see what was wrong. I had the MTHFR testing done. It's a gene mutation, and I do have it. Stuart has it as well. And basically that just means I needed to change up my vitamin regimen. I also did a test to see if I had natural killer cells. There's controversy on this. Some people think it's a hoax, others don't. In my case, it was like, what does it hurt to just throw everything at the IVF attempts? Like, let's just put it all on the table to see if something works. We attempted one more IVF with my eggs, and this is where a lot of people started coming into my story on YouTube, because we're gonna do one more attempt. This time I did like a 5-month Depo-Lupron menopause treatment. I lost a ton of hair. I was so moody. We were starting our renovation project at the time with our duplex. It was really stressful. It was a really stressful time in my life. But we did that, and I also included like the proper vitamins this time, and I also started doing something called an intralipid treatment. Again, I've got videos, so if you have if you're curious about that, just check out the video, because this video is going to be too long as it is. Anyway, so we did that. I got the least amount of eggs I'd ever gotten, but it was still high in the end, or like compared to, I think, a standard IVF. I got like 26 eggs or something on my 3rd IVF. What year am I in at this point? I don't know, 2018? Now we're at the 10-year mark. And it was really frustrating because I had done like the longer Depo-Lupron. Oh, and I also did like a ton of like egg improvement things. Like I took all the vitamins that was meant to improve egg quality. I did melatonin. I did just a ton of different things. And my eggs were the worst they'd ever been. Likely because endometriosis had gone into my ovaries, and you can't remove endometriosis from an ovary. You'd have to like cut inside the ovary, and in doing so, it's like cracking an egg. You ruin it. You know, I would ruin every single egg inside me if we did surgery on me ovaries. Even though I'd done all these treatments, the endometriosis was still inside the ovary, and endometriosis is a disease that just compounds on itself. Okay, we got baby here with me now. Hi, little guy. You ready to go play? Let's go to the splash pad. So even though I'd done all these treatments, the endometriosis was still in the ovaries, doing damage. And so I think that's why the eggs continued to look bad, was because they were bad, and it's like we couldn't get into the burning building. Like it was just continuing to burn and burn over time, if that makes any sense. We got one okay embryo and then one really poor quality embryo. We called them Fighter and Cheerleader. And we transferred them both. And again, I did get pregnant. And my numbers were actually the best they'd ever been. Still on the low end compared to other pregnant women, but they were rising properly. I was doing my intralipid treatment, which I think was the thing that helped. But I still ended up miscarrying at week 6. And by miscarried, I mean we went in for my 6-week appointment. They didn't see a heartbeat. They said the baby had died, and I had to do a D&C. So that is probably one of the most horrific days of my life. The trauma of no, don't suck on my toes. Don't do it! Of like having hope and going in for an ultrasound, hoping and begging that like finally we'll see a heartbeat for once in our lives, and then being told no, and let's go ahead and do surgery to remove this baby. It was awful. We were crushed. And then once again I said, you know what, okay, we're at square one still. I'm so sick to death of all of these treatments. I feel like I've put my body through hell. I really just want to recover. I just feel like I need to heal. It has been over a decade of like trying new things, doing things, having hope, getting crushed, all sorts of stuff. I just don't want to do fertility. I just want to give myself some TLC. So then I spent the year working on losing weight, and I lost like 75 pounds, and I felt great, and I think I looked great. And Stuart wasn't ready to make a decision, but the doctor said, you know, we've tried everything we can possibly do to improve your eggs, and it's not improving, and it's not going to improve, and you're just getting older, so you need to use donor eggs or try something else. So by 2019, we decided to move on using an egg donor. Then the 9 Months with Courtney Cox show found my Instagram and read about my story, and they asked us if we'd want to participate in season 2, and it was a scary thing to do, but we decided to do it because I think raising awareness for infertility is always a great thing. And it's a scary thing to do because it's always going to come with judgment when you put yourself out there and be vulnerable. But it's going to help someone either feel not alone, maybe educate someone who's got a family member going through it and they didn't like understand the point of view that you're going through, and now they do. Or maybe help like the system, because it's so hard to try to treat a disease, and it shouldn't be this hard to treat it. And so that's where I feel like awareness really comes into play, is when people talk about it and we see how many people are struggling with this and how many people need help and how hard it is to get help, and that you have to do so much work to be an advocate for yourself. Like, it shouldn't be this hard. So that's where I'm like, it's really hard and scary to share these details, and especially to share that my little Henry has got a really complex story. But if you're willing to share and to bring awareness, I just think there's so many positives that come from it. So, I mean, it took me several years before I was finally able to open up publicly about it. Anyway, so you just do you, bottom line. But we finally, we chose an egg donor. She did great. We don't know who she is. She's an anonymous donor. We picked her from a database. I don't know her name. I don't know. I know like what the profile said about her. We're keeping those details private because it's part of Henry's story and hopefully any future children that we have. And to me, that's they deserve that kind of privacy. So we don't share anything about the donor. We got several embryos from that cycle that are all great quality, and it's like really shocking to me to see like how good an IVF cycle can go when you've got good eggs to work with. Now that I know, even though I'm in my 30s, my doctor said these are such good quality. I recommend only transferring one. We don't want you to have a high-risk pregnancy, so let's just do one embryo. So we didn't know the gender or anything of Henry. We didn't do genetic testing, but we did the transfer, and he took, and then we had a baby. I talked, about like the subchorionic hemorrhage that we went through. That was really scary. I was on bed rest for a while. It was a COVID pregnancy, for heaven's sakes, which really stunk. But other than that, he is just everything. He's my little boy. We are just so thankful to have him. He's chewing on this piece of paper that I should probably take from his mouth. But seriously, I feel so lucky. I honestly feel lucky. It sounds bizarre because it took 12 years before we finally had a baby. And every year, every month, every negative pregnancy test, I mean, I seriously feel like I probably bought several hundred pregnancy tests. Really sucked. It sucked. The emotion, the energy, the mental, stamina, the money that we had to spend, so much went into it. But now that I have this baby, this perfect little boy, I'm so grateful. Would I choose infertility? Not necessarily in the sense of I wouldn't want anyone to have to go through this pain, but the fact that I would have ended up with a different baby makes me feel like it was all worth it for this little boy. He needs a haircut. I'm too scared to cut it. I've never cut hair before. He just messed with my lighting. So anyway, that's our story. We've got more embryos left. I do hope to do some transfers in the future and give him at least one sibling if I'm able. And, oh, he's chewing on my arm. This is hard to film with a baby. So I'm going to close it. If you watch this entire thing, thank you so much. I don't know if it helps you. If anything, it just tells you the exhaustive history of what we've been through. And again, this is in a nutshell. There's so many details that are in the videos that I will share. Don't pull my hair. Soft. Oh, no, 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 no. Soft, 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 soft. Thank you. Soft. And even in those nutshell, or even in those videos, I don't share every little detail because, I mean, it's a 12-year history. So thanks again for watching. The next video, I'm going to talk again, or I'm going to share more about every episode that 9 months featured of us, and that will at least give you like the visual nutshell version of the story, because each of our clips is only a few minutes long. He keeps messing with my lighting, and now we're ghosts. Dang it. Anyway, I hope you have a great day. Stay tuned for all the videos I'm going to be releasing this week, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks again.